So edit this part out so we. Anyways, let me.
Across the seas, I'm guaranteed to make.
Actually,
say grace, nigga.
So pretty much the question was what does it take to become a producer, and when did you realize that you had the gift?
I'll start. Basically, I had the passion back in '97 when I was starting out with the Yamaha PSR 270, and it was a six track recorder, no loop. If you turn off the keyboard, you're done. You had no way to save it. You had to tape it. It was in a cassette. That's how I actually recorded first. Before Pro Tools and all that stuff, I had a regular old boombox with a built-in mic, recording my beats off of that. But if you wanted me to talk about what it takes to be a producer, it takes a lot of persistence. You gotta really be dedicated to what it is that you want to do in this music, because if you're just doing it for the fame, if you're just doing it for the money, just trust me, this ain't the industry for you. You have to really want to do this. This dedication, really, you gotta be all in the creative, and you have to be like on point with the times, because even me, I made the mistake even back in the early 2000s where I was just trying to sound, I was trying to sound like Dilla, and Dilla was just going back to what made me get into producing was Jay Dilla. God rest his soul. Dilla got me really into it, but I had to learn the hard way that Dilla, as great as he is, I can't bring Dilla into this current time all the time. I could bring elements of him, but I have to also say to myself, okay, what's going to keep up with the times?
Right.
Because if you are going to be a producer, you have to be creative. You have to have your own lane, have your own sound, know what it is that you want, know what it is, what your sound is about, that you can basically be different than everybody else. Because I think in this day and age, we do live in a cookie cutter era that everybody wants to try to sound like somebody else. And me personally, I made the vow that no matter what, I didn't care if I made one cell to 1,000,000 cells. If the sound isn't me, I'm not gonna do it. So,
so I guess since he answered that, answer the other part of the question. When did you realize, man, I'm a producer?
Probably once I finally got into an actual DAW, digital audio workstation. Before that, I was just messing around with like loops on my phone. And it sounded decent, but it wasn't nothing really special. Like I was saying, officialness is not a word, but we're gonna act like it is one. But there was a certain level of officialness that came with finally getting with a digital audio workstation and using one, at least FL Studio. It really didn't come right away. It got to a point where I really had to really work with it. And at first I thought my stuff was really dope, but it wasn't. And it just took time. And then when I realized people really liked my stuff, people were willing to buy my stuff, I was like, I can actually do this. As far as being a producer, came a point in time where I fell in love with music as a whole, instead of just the drums, instead of just that instrument. There came a point in time where I fell in love with music for everything that it was, and that was when I think it was like, it wasn't even like, oh, I want to produce. It was, I want to create.
Yeah.
You know, not that there's anything wrong with playing drums and playing parts, but like, why be a player on the team when you can own the franchise?
Yeah.
to be a producer right now, you gotta stay relevant. You gotta stay relevant in both lanes. You gotta stay relevant in terms of you gotta have the sound of today, people. If you want people to come to you, or you need to have elements of the sound of the current sound to come to you. But you also gotta stay relevant as far as who's in the mix of names and who's getting called. Sometimes clout holds more weight than talent.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Sadly. To get on top of his answer, that's where my difference in how I approach music come into play. See, I know I get it where it comes with the modern mainstream way of doing things where it's all about the clout. Me personally, I came up in the era where the talent actually didn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's kind of heartbreaking, but at the same time, I get it.
Yeah.
Because I understand, like, it is the social media era. People all about the likes and the views and the comments. For me, I'm still old school. I'm more about, okay, if your music ain't popping, if your music ain't hot, people ain't gonna pay you no mind. But I digress these days. That's the reason why I decided, I made a vow that I wouldn't follow the trend. I wouldn't, even though the trap sound is hot, the mainstream guys like Tay Keith, London, and all those guys are hot. I said, yep, all them. I said,
I would like to hear more TM88.
I said to myself that I'm gonna basically just stick to my lane, but there's a price to sticking to your lane.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you.
There's a price to sticking to your lane.
Producer to producer, younger producer,
Listen,
more with the times. You know,
older producer
who's gonna stay rigid and stick to what he's been doing.
Yeah.
How would you say? How do you survive? How do you keep afloat?
Man, that's tough. Because to be realistic with you, I do work a 9 to 5. I do work a night job. So there's a pro and a con to that. The pro is that yes, I'm guaranteed to get a check, and I do live my day-to-day life. The con to that is because of my hours, I'm not able to be in the mingle with everybody. So one little thing I will say that if you are not with the times, you have to realize that you're going to live about 70% of the time. You're going to be living a regular, normal 9 to 5 life. You're going to basically be sticking to your guns to whatever it is that you're going to do. And until somebody like a TV network or somebody like that, which I am working on, trying to get more into film and television, until they call you, you're going to be still working a 9 to 5. Whereas the mainstream guys coming out and wanting to stick with the trends, in my opinion, I think y'all guys have more of a chance to actually blow up and actually get on billboards, Grammys, and all that type of stuff.
It's kind of weird because it's really all about where your beat ends up.
Exactly, and that's how.
That's really all it's about. It's all about where your beat ends up and how big of a placement you get.
Exactly.
So like it's it's a lot easier for me to like chug and finesse and like who's hot right now?
Like Drake.
But see, people just
Cardi B. Nicki Minaj just had an album out. Meek, who's
let's use Meek.
Yeah, we in Philly, so let's use
We in Philly, let's use Meek. We in Philly, I got a lot of associates in Philly, a lot of industry associates in Philly. It's a lot easier for like a young dude just like being at every party, being at every function, like trying to be in everybody's face, and then somehow, I get that email address. You send that pack. Me like, oh, I like this. And he raps on it. And boom, that's a placement.
Yeah.
And a possible hit. I feel like it's a lot easier for us younger producers. But at the same time, I feel like because it's so easy, that's why it seems like anybody is getting on, or
it's cookie cutter. That's how I feel about it. I mean, my opinion is it's cookie cutter. And that's where I draw the line, because when I was coming up, I was trying to do the leasing thing. I was selling my beats for like $20, $30 here and there, and trying to work with the trends and everything. But I had said to myself, like just this past 2 years ago, I said I cannot. I mean, no matter what, I don't care if I'll never sell another record in my life.
Yeah.
I cannot go with the trends because it's not me. And and every time I send a beat out to somebody that try to sound like these guys, they like, hey, we like it, but it's not you. Like DC, that ain't DC.
Yeah.
That's a poser. I mean, I'm not saying it like that. They weren't trying to clown me like that.
Yeah.
But they were more like on some. That's not you. That's not your sound. That's not your lane. And I try not to be offended. But when people say that ain't your lane,
I don't think you should necessarily be offended because I admire producers like you, DC, because a lot of these producers who produce and they try to stick with the sound, they don't have a time to develop a sound of their own. Yeah. Because they're trying to sound like the world. Like you listen to a DC, you know a DC beat. Yep. You know, actually, even though I don't really like his beats, you take Keith. Like you know Take Keith drums when you hear Take Keith drums. And I'm not sure if that's because he took time to develop his sound. It don't sound like there was much development put into it. No disrespect to anybody who ends up seeing this. It's just
cheers.
I'm very passionate about my craft.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So that was the first half of the table talk. I will be dropping part 2 tomorrow night. But in the meantime, please like and comment and share your thoughts. All right. Peace. All right, y'all. So, yeah, that was the first half of our table talk. I will be releasing part 2 tomorrow night. But in the meantime, make sure y'all like and comment. Share your thoughts. All right.